Alright, now that we've etched our sample, we're ready to go to the microscopy station. And so you can see here, we have the computer, which is right in front of us, and then the microscope right to the right. We're going to go ahead and make sure if the computer isn't on, go ahead and turn it on. And also turn on the microscope, that's the green button. And you'll be able to see in the back here, we'll have our light start to turn on. Now, this probably looks a little intimidating in terms of, okay, what are we going to do? As you're using the microscope, there's going to be two ways that you can view everything. The first is by looking through the viewfinder with your eyes, and the second is with the computer. We're going to use IC measure. Go ahead and use that one in order to find our system. To get that set up, make sure you set the correct device. It should be this DFK24UJ003 or whatever. You should be able to select the correct device based on the instructions in the manual. And then if you go over to measure, you'll see that you can select a configuration. And we have options for this microscope, so it's an Olympus, and you have different objectives ranging from 5x all the way up to 100x. Go ahead and start out with a 5x objective. An important thing is that you have to manually change the objective here inside the microscope, and then also change it in over here in the program in order to update our scale in the program. So now we're ready to actually make some measurements. We're going to go ahead and take our sample. Now, one thing that is advantageous by using the viewfinder is that you're able to better see the difference between the bakelite, which is your epoxy, and the metal, which is what you actually want to sample. By using the viewfinder, you'll be able to quickly hone in on where is your metal on the sample. Now for a rundown of using the microscope, we have our sample here. We'll go ahead and we can stage it onto our tray. You're going to go ahead and make sure that you put the sample side down. Now, one thing that I notice, if you look at the top of the sample, is that you can see there's a sliver of light. And one thing that I found that's helpful is if you try to block out that light with your sample as best as possible, that tends to set you up very well, so that way your sample is close to being on target. Depending on which objective we would like to select, you can see here on the side, we can choose between the different magnifications. Now you can see that this one is the 5, and the one that we are using currently is the one that is sitting up. So we want to start with the lowest magnification, which is 5. So we'll just rotate it around until it clicks into place. Notice that as we go from 5, we have 5 total different options for magnification, with the largest being 100. Another thing to remember is that in terms of real magnification, there's another factor of 10 inside the machine that we don't see on this one rating. Now that we have our magnification set to the 5th, we can take a look at our screen. We can see that we have some phenomena, however it's not clear, and we need to make sure that we're actually looking at our system, or at the metal and not the bakelite. Okay. Now that we have our sample on the platform, we now want to diagnose where our system is. So let's go into the viewfinder. Looking into the viewfinder, we can see that we are right at the edge of where our sample is. You can see that our sample is nice and brightly colored, whereas if we go out into the epoxy resin, it has a dark color, and it has a texture, and it looks a lot more like bakelite, our epoxy. So we'll go ahead and move our platform over into the metal region. Now, how did we get to the metal region? Well, the way that we're able to move our platform over is by using these two knobs. Notice that the bottom one moves our platform left and right, whereas the top knob moves our platform forwards and backwards. You can use the combination of these two in order to move our metal to the sample. Now that we have our sample positioned approximately over the lens, we want to make sure that our signal is cleanly seen. So in order to do this, we can use our viewfinder again. And we see that we don't have a clear signal anymore. So we can use our coarse. So in order to sharpen our signal, we can use the coarse and fine adjustments. They're available on both sides of our system, where the large knob is the coarse, small knob is the fine. Using this, we can watch our screen to see as our system comes into focus. Oh, there we go. That's pretty well focused. Then we can use the fine adjustment to sharpen the contrast to get additional details that we want. The name of the game here, especially as you get to the fine focus, is to just make small incremental changes to your focus, so that way you can start to see some of the details. Now we have taken our system and we now have it. We can then go back to our measure, make sure that we have the correct objective. This is now our 5, and then we can use some of these in order to measure certain properties. So for example, we're interested in the size of this area, we could use a polygon to measure that out along with the circumference. If we're interested in snapping an image, we can do this, and then we can name our image something useful and then hit save in order to save that image. Our 5x magnification is okay, however we're interested in seeing some of the smaller details such as the grains. In order to do this, we need to go to our higher resolutions. To get to the higher resolutions, we can increase our magnification. Now the advantage of starting with the 5x is that we're very quickly able to get to our sharp image, and now we can see that we just have something that is a blurry image. You should be able to see that you're able to come into focus using the fine focus adjustment without too much issue. If you would like, use the stage controls to change where you are looking at on the sample. Again, the name of the game here is to make small incremental changes rather than large changes, so that you're able to keep track of everything and you don't go off your sample. Now that we've increased our magnification, you need to change the configuration to the corresponding updated magnification, and then you can again save an image as you like. Going up to the 50, we can then again use our fine focus and gently bring ourselves up into focus. And at this point we can start to see some of the grains. And then finally we can go to our highest magnification, 100, and then very gently change our focus. At the 100 scale, it can be quite finicky to get things into focus. So use the fine focus and very small changes to it. In addition to the fine focus, you might also want to change the lighting. You can use this slider bar, or you can use this AS, where if you turn it towards yourself, you can see that that darkens the picture. Whereas if you push it away from yourself, it lightens the picture up. Using an appropriate combination, we're able to bring the grains, we are able to start seeing some of the grains a little bit better. This gives you a brief introduction on microscopy and how to use the microscope. After you're finished using the microscope, make sure that you turn off the light, and then you can also turn off the computer. If you need any files, make sure that you copy them onto a thumb drive.